My fellow Zimbabweans, the current agricultural season of 2023 to 2024 has not performed according to expectations due to the El Nino-induced drought. As a result, more than 80% of our country received below normal rainfall. The country had put a total of 1,728,897,000 hectares under maize crop and other cereals. Ordinarily, this would have guaranteed a bountiful harvest for our country. Further worsening the situation characterized by poor rainfall was the outbreak of fall army worms across the country. The Zimbabwe Livelihoods Assessment Committee report for 2023 revealed that approximately 2.7 million people were expected to be food insecure from April 2023 until end of March 2024. While we have been able so far to fend for this food insecurity population, the El Nino drought has now compounded our current situation with food insecurity levels raised beyond the projected 2.7 million people. Following our multi-pronged agricultural and food systems strategies, we are ordinarily a nation capable of feeding ourselves. The strategic grain reserve holds 189,568 metric tons of cereals. This constitutes 145,604 metric tons of maize and 43,964 metric tons of traditional grains. My administration has made a decision to allocate 138,905 metric tons of surplus wheat towards our strategic grain reserve. This will give a combined total of about 356,000 metric tons of cereals in our strategic grain reserve. We expect 868,273 metric tons from this season's harvest. Hence, our nation faces a food cereal deficit of nearly 680,000 metric tons of grain. This deficit will be bridged by imports. Measures to encourage private sector participation in this regard are already in place. Top on our priority is securing food for all Zimbabweans. No Zimbabwean must succumb to or die from hunger. Adequate resources will therefore be mobilized and redirected towards national food security, including through supplementary grain imports. All available grain in the country will be secured through competitive prices and prompt payment towards encouraging farmers to release and sell available grain, including to the Grain Marketing Board. A robust and responsive mechanism has been put in place to guarantee that food reaches needy communities timely. Meanwhile, the winter crop program for 2024 now assumes added importance and agency. The shift to wheat-based food security means the land we put under wheat from this month must expand to cover all available irrigable land with secure water sources. Equally, winter maize projects in areas such as Shirezi, Muzarabani, and Binga must be reactivated towards drought mitigation. The agriculture mechanization modernization program will continue until the majority of smallholder farmers upgrade their operations in line with the ongoing rural development agenda. My fellow Zimbabweans, linked to food security is water security at household, community, and national levels. My government will continue to roll out comprehensive interventions to ensure that drinking water is adequate for our people, for livestock, and the wildlife. Safe water sources which are drying up in many areas have to be replaced through an accelerated exploitation of our groundwater. More boreholes continue to be drilled under the presidential borehole drilling program to ensure adequate water, sanitation, and hygiene to avert waterborne diseases, including cholera, typhoid, and dysentery. An equal priority is the need to save our livestock. Farmers will be supported to prevent deaths or distress sales of livestock. The building of our national herd will remain ongoing in spite of the current drought. The country's hydropower generation capacity is drastically reduced, thereby increasing reliance on thermal and solar power. Thankfully, investments in thermal energy have relieved stress on power availability, thus enabling the economy to run reasonably smoothly. My dear Zimbabweans, the foregoing situation of the climate change-induced drought requires measures and interventions as provided for in our laws. To that end, I do hereby declare a national state of disaster due to the El Nino-induced drought. Accordingly, I now invoke Section 27, subsection 1 of the Civil Protection Act, Chapter 10,06, which provides that, and I quote, if at any time it appears to the President that any disaster of such a nature and extent that extraordinary measures are necessary to assist and protect the persons affected or likely to be affected by the disaster in any area of the country, the President may, in such a manner as he considers fit, declare that with effect from a date specified by him, a state of disaster exists within an area or areas specified by him in the declaration. By this declaration, I also call upon all Zimbabweans of goodwill, including those in the diaspora, the international community, United Nations agencies, development and humanitarian partners, international financial institutions, the private sector, churches and other faith-based organizations, as well as individuals, to generously donate towards ameliorating this state of national disaster. Preliminary assessments show that Zimbabwe requires in excess of US $2 billion towards the various interventions we envisage in the spectrum of our national response to the disaster. Once again, let me assure you, my fellow Zimbabweans, that our national response will be broad, comprehensive, and all-encompassing. No one and no place will be left without sustenance. Let us remain united, peaceful, and supportive of each other from the family and the household levels and within communities throughout these challenging times. Together in unity and love, the people of our beloved motherland Zimbabwe shall endure. God bless you all. God bless Zimbabwe. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency.
Yeah.
His Excellency the President has agreed graciously to field one or two questions from you in case you have them. And I'm ready to receive the questions. Please identify yourself by name, by organization you work for, before you put your question through to the President.
And your height.
And your height, I'm advised. Even your blood group. Yes. Can we have the first question?
Yes, my name is I want to ask if there are any projects that are going to suffer, for example, road and construction, that are going to suffer and you can get some funds towards that.
The possibility is there, but currently we have not diverted resources targeted for particular projects that are still ongoing. But there's a possibility that as we move on and the impact of drought weighs on us, we may consider diverting some of such resources to mitigate the impact of drought.
Could I invite the second question, please? Yes, please.
Your Excellency, Zimbabwe's food security has for a very long time depended on the communal farmer. And at this point, which means that there's been security at household level. What measures, within the measures that you are putting in place, what do we have that is targeting the family level, not from a point of receiving, but from a point of getting into the production sector?
Fortunately, this morning I had the two respective ministers responsible for that sector to address the question of ensuring that, most importantly, we should address food insecurity at the household level. And we've agreed on the modality of making sure that will be done. So a program will unfold as from this Friday to deal with that particular challenge.
Next question, please. Yes, Madam.
Just to clarify, so does that mean the excess wheat which we intended to export will no longer be exported?
I think an average human being would not export what he has when the family is hungry. And I think we are an average government, and we will make sure that we keep what we have before we can export.
Yes, Russia?
Yes, Pavel Wilson, Russian news agency TASS. Your Excellency, is your government planning to look into irrigation techniques as a remedy for drought? And in this regard, maybe to tap into Russian experience and expertise in this sphere?
One of the critical methods of mitigating against the droughts or food insecurity is two-pronged. One is the construction of dams so that we can have more hectares of land under irrigation. And this we've begun to do so, and also benefiting from such countries as the Russian Federation, which has vast experience in irrigation. And we believe that down the line, we must make sure as a country that we have enough hectarage under irrigation so that even if there is drought, serious drought, we will still have enough hectarage under irrigation to sustain the nation.
Could I field the last two questions, please? If there are any?
There's somebody down there.
Oh, see.
Oh, so I'm not sure.
Oh, yeah.
And
which areas are we looking at sourcing our food for importation, given that the whole region is affected in a drought?
mavunza zvakanaka. Zvandoziva ndezvokuti voku South Africa vanosita surplus yakakura, asi rwendo runo surplus yavo yavashoma, asi zvinongobvira kuti surplus vanayo. Saka tichasunza kwavari nekuti ivo pachavo zvavakarima zvinokwana, asi vanosita surplus yakakura, asi rwendo runoita shomani ndiye vachatitengesera.
Yes, sir.
Mr. President, it's Harare from China Global Television. What these imports that will come in, how are they likely to affect inflation and prices of basics like maize meal, bread, and things like that? And what is the government going to do to try and cushion elsewhere?
Contrary to how you perceive, inflation is there whether we're importing or not importing. As a matter of fact, if we do bring in food, it means the food security in the country will be stable. And that, in consequence, the monetary policy will bring about stability in the currency.
Do we have anyone with a burning question before we release the president? Conrad.
Maricho. Maricho.
Very appropriate for the times.
Okay. Okay.
So my issue is to do with vulnerable communities. What program is there? I know that you said the government is going to import, there's going to be food. Given that they have not read anything and are not going to be having anything, are they going to be given? Are they what's going to happen, especially to the vulnerable?
This morning, I had a meeting with the relevant ministers, and they were agreed on a methodology of quickly assessing and identifying vulnerable families in the communities so that we should not allow any community or villages suffering from food insecurity. We've already begun the process. Actually, today I've approved the methodology of identifying such members of the community suffering from food insecurity.
At which point, it is my honor to thank the President for affording us this precious time. Well, President, thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you.